Hey, you guys are watching Bird Up, the worst show on television. Superman.
What is going on, guys? Rogue TCG here, bringing the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG deck profile. You all asked for it on the Discord, so here I am bringing it to you. Here is Lyrilusc. Now, this week I'm doing something very special for the holidays. All the videos for this week are going to be exclusively Discord submissions. And from the Discord channel, you can find a link to that in the description below if you want to participate next time we do something like this. But here is Lyrilusc. This deck is really cool. It's also really, really cheap. And with Lyrilusc, I decided I wanted to pair the Tri-Brigades and remake Bird Up from a couple years ago. Now, even though this deck is a couple years old, it is still quite competent and has room for non-engine. The main goal of the deck is to basically, when you're going first, set up Tri-Brigade boards, backed up with this card, Ensemble Robin, which is a not once per turn bounce of a special summon monster. And you want to pair that with Tri-Brigade cards, either a Double Dragon's Lords or paired with a Tri-Brigade Revolt, ready to go into a Tri-Brigade Shurik, the Ominous Omen, with 1 or 2 hand traps in hand. So that's basically the premise of the deck. Now let's get into the card by card. Starting off with our Lyriluscs. With our small birds, we're starting with triple copies of Lyrilusc Turquoise Warbler. If you control no monsters, we can special summon this card from our hand. If this card is special summoned from the hand, we can special summon a Lyrilusc monster from our hand or our graveyard. Really good tool for flooding the board with our birds, and it's one of our more ideal starters because this is a card that allows us to, flood the empty board, and it pairs really well with Tri-Brigade Fractal, which is able to send any Beast, Beast Warrior, or Wing Beast monster to our graveyard, which can set up our combo really well because we can send any Lyrilusc monster we could want to bring back from the graveyard with our Warbler. So we are on triple copies of Warbler. Also, a card that we're on 3 copies of is 3 copies of Lyrilusc Sapphire Swallow. If we control a Winged Beast monster, we can special summon both this card and 1 level 1 Winged Beast monster from our hand. We can only use that effect of Sapphire Swallow once per turn, so we can only use that special summon effect once per turn. A Wind Xyz monster that was summoned using this card on field as material gains this effect. If this card is Xyz summoned, we can target a Lyrilusc monster in our graveyard and attach it to this card as material. Now, some of these Lyrilusc monsters are going to give the Xyz monster that it's underneath a secondary or even a third effect, so I will mention that as it comes up. But Sapphire Swallow is quite strong. The fact that it can summon any level 1 monster from our hand and doesn't negate its effects means that it's perfect for bringing out a Tri-Brigade Nerval from our hand. We can use the Nerval's effect in order to make a free link monster and then continue going on from there. We are also on 2 copies of Lyrilusc Celeste Wagtail. If this card is special summoned, we can add a Lyrilusc spell or trap from our deck to our hand. We're only playing 1 Lyrilusc spell trap in our deck, although we are playing 3 copies of it, so even if we do open it, we can grab our follow-up with this card. It also reads, if this card's in your graveyard, you can target a Lyrilusc Xyz monster you control, attach this card to it as material, and each of those effects are a once per turn. Really powerful card. We're only playing 2 because it is very searchable in this deck, and it is here to be a searchable card that can grab a searcher. It is also a way to, continue stacking up materials onto our Xyz monsters, so it's quite fantastic for that purpose. We're also on 2 copies of Lyrilusc Cobalt Sparrow. This card reads, if it's special summoned, we can add a level 1 Winged Beast monster from our deck to our hand. Again, can grab Tri-Brigade Nerval. And you can only use that effect of Cobalt Sparrow once per turn, and that is the reason we're playing 2 copies of this card. If it was not a hard once, if it wasn't a once per turn on it, we would be able to be playing multiple and getting that search repeatedly. Although there are Lyrilusc cards in the deck that are not once per turn and do allow us to search repeatedly, so we're only settling on 2 copies of Cobalt Sparrow. It also has the effect where if it's used as a material for an Xyz monster, for a Wind Xyz specifically, it gives that card that is made with it on targeting protection, which is fantastic. Who's going to complain about targeting protection? And then our last Lyrilusc monster is going to be 1 copy of Lyrilusc Barrel Canary. This is an extender that locks us into Xyz monsters for the rest of the turn, so we're only playing 1 copy because we're going to ideally be searching this at the end of our Lyrilusc chain in order to end off our combo with whatever Xyz we're going to be planning on making with this card. And this card reads, if it's in our hand, we can target a Lyrilusc in our graveyard, special summon both this card and that monster, and then we're locked from the extra deck except for Xyz monsters. We can only use that effect of Barrel Canary once per turn, and a Wind Xyz monster that was summoned using this card on field as material gains the effect where it gains 200 attacks and it can switch control. Really strange secondary effect, to be honest. So no mind control, no change of heart, no talents, none of that nonsense. No Geonator Transverser if people are playing that. So very interesting card over here. The main idea is that we're going to be using this at the end of our combo to set up our Ensemble Blue Robin, making sure it has at least 3 materials, one of which is the barrel, the other one is the one thing that the barrel brings back, and our last material is a wagtail in our graveyard that we're able to attach to it at the end of the turn. Of course, if we use the barrel to bring back a Sapphire Swallow, then we can use the effect of the XCs that it gains from the Sapphire Swallow to attach another Lyrilusc graveyard to it, so it can end off with 4 materials instead of just 3. But that's it for our Lyrilusc monsters. Now let's cover our Lyrilusc spell. We're on triple copies of Lyrilusc Bird Call. We can take a Lyrilusc from our deck and either add it to our hand or send it to the graveyard. Then we can special summon a Lyrilusc monster with a different name than the card, different name from your hand. So it's a different name from the card that we either added or sent to the graveyard. So it's worded a little bit strangely, but in reality, this is either a Foolish plus a Foolish or a Rhoda plus an extension from hand if we have set up already there. Fantastic card. This deck couldn't have asked for anything better, so we are playing 3 copies of this card. Now onto our Tri-Brigades. All the Tri-Brigades are going to have an ignition effect while they're face up on field, where they're going to be able to banish Winged Beast, or Beast Warriors from our graveyard in order to cheat out a Link material based on the amount of Link monster rather, based on the amount of monsters that we banish from our graveyard. So if we banish 2 monsters, we get a Link 2. We banish 3, we get a Link 3, so on and so forth. So we are on triple copies of Tri-Brigade Nerval. It'll have that Tri-Brigade on field effect, and if this card is sent to the graveyard, we can add a Tri-Brigade monster from our deck to our hand, except for Nerval, and that is a hard once per turn. We're on triple copies of Fractal. We can send this card from our hand or field to the graveyard to send a level 3 or lower Beast Warrior, Winged Beast monster from our deck to the graveyard, and then it'll have that Tri-Brigade effect on it. We are on 1 copy of Tri-Brigade Karos. We can discard a Beast Warrior or Winged Beast to special summon this from our hand, and then it'll have that Tri-Brigade effect while it's face up on field. And then lastly, 1 copy of Tri-Brigade Kit. We can banish any number of Beast Warriors and our Winged Beast in our graveyard. That is the Tri-Brigade effect. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, we are able to send a Tri-Brigade card from our deck to the graveyard, except for itself. Most of the time, if this card is being sent to the graveyard, we're going to be sending another copy. We're going to send a copy of Nerval, and we're going to use Nerval to add a copy of either Fractal or Karos in order to be able to use those cards on field effect in order to cheat out a material. So fantastic cards over here. We're not playing all too many Tri-Brigades, to be completely honest, since we are only maxing out on Nerval and Fractal and only playing one of the other ones. There is argument to be made to be playing 2 Karos and 2 Kit, although I am opting to cut those down a little bit in order to play a little bit more non-engine. And then our last Tri-Brigade card is 1 copy of Tri-Brigade Revolt, special summoning any number of banished Beast Warrior or Winged Beast monsters that are either banished or in our graveyard, negating their effects, and then immediately after this effect resolves, Link summoning a Tri-Brigade Link monster using only those monsters, making it very easy to go into a Shureg on our opponent's turn. Now for our generic cards, we're on 1 copy of 1-for-1 in order to get our Lyrilusc out of our deck. It could also grab a copy of Tri-Brigade Nerval, 1 copy of Foolish Burial. Why run only 3 Foolish Burials when we can run 4? We're on triple copies of Tenki. Why run only 4 Foolish Burials when we can be running 7? And 1 copy of Called by the Grave for hand trap mitigation. For our hand traps, we're on triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, triple copies of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, triple copies of Infinite Impermanence, 1 copy of Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion, a hand trap that is quite good in this format right now, and 1 copy of DD Crow. DD Crow isn't exactly the best in this format right now. However, this is a very searchable card since it is a level 1 Winged Beast, so it is a searchable hand trap that we're able to grab if we think that we're going to need it during our opponent's turn. But that's it for our main deck. Now let us cover our extra. I don't mean to interrupt the video, but I do just want to give you all guys a heads up. We are quickly rising in our subscriber number, and I did want to make you all aware that once we hit 2,000 subscribers, I am going to be doing another giveaway. Now, I remember I did one once we hit 500 subscribers, and we did a special thing for 1,000, so I want to do something special for 2,000. And you see this beautiful mat right here? Well, it can be yours. I have 2 extra mats. There's one of them, and let me get that second one for y'all. I have 2 extra pristine mats for you all. So I got multiple of these, and to 2 lucky winners, I'm going to be giving 1 to one person and 1 to another. And the person who wins the overall giveaway is also going to get a full Orcust deck. I can't guarantee it's going to be max rarity, but I'm going to see what I can do, and I'm going to try and make it look nice and pretty for you. It's not going to be the full deck. It's just going to be the core Orcust cards, but I want to be able to give one of you all the ability to play one of my favorite decks. So just something I'm doing for you. You can always pop into our Discord. I believe that's where I'm going to be doing the giveaway. The Discord's always going to be in the description of my videos. I'm going to have a little bit more details once we start rolling up on that, but I just wanted to make you all aware of that. Now, back to the video. In our extra, we're on one copy of Salamangreat Almirage. This is here for Nerval in kit reasons. This is our only normal summon. We can normal summon a Nerval, send it to the graveyard for an Almirage, use the effect of the Nerval in order to add a Tri-Brigade, and it becomes even better with kit because we can go kit to send Nerval, and then we'll have 2 Beast Warriors or Winged Beasts in the graveyard in order to make a link to with whatever Tri-Brigade we decide to add to our hand. We're on one copy of Ancient Warriors Oath Double Dragon Lords. This card reads, if we are able to send a card from our hand or field to the graveyard to target a face-up card our opponent controls and return it to the hand. That is a quick effect. This is one of the better links that we can be cheating out of the extra deck with our Tri-Brigade monsters, since it is a Beast Warrior and its summoning requirement means we're pretty much never going to be summoning this the typical way. We're on one copy of Tri-Brigade Ferajit, the Baron Blossom, and his 2 Beast Warriors, Beast Warriors, and our Winged Beast monsters. During our main phase, we can special summon a level 4 or lower Beast Warrior or Winged Beast monster from our hand, and we cannot use monsters as link material for the rest of the turn, except for Beast Warrior or Winged Beast monsters. If this card is sent to the graveyard, we can draw 1 card, then place 1 card from our hand on the bottom of the deck. A lot of the Tri-Brigade cards are going to have that effect, especially the Link monsters when they're sent to the graveyard to do something somewhat beneficial, which is why we're on one copy of Tri-Brigade Bearbrum the Rampant Rampager. This card will have an effect where we can discard cards in order to bring back a banished level 4 or lower Beast Warrior Winged Beast monster. However, the main effect that we're going to be using is the effect that of this card that is when it's sent to the graveyard. When this card is sent to the graveyard, we're able to add a Tri-Brigade spell or trap from our deck to the hand, then place a card from our hand on the bottom of the deck, and then we're locked from special summoning for the rest of the turn except for Tri-Brigade monsters. Now, keep that in mind. We want to be using this at the latest possible stage that we are able to be doing so, because again, we are locked out of summoning except for Tri-Brigade monsters. So, again, this is the last thing that we want to be sending to the graveyard in order to grab our Revolt. So, ideally, the combo would be going... We make the Bearbrum, the Rampant Rampager, we link these off into like a Ferajit or something of the like, and then we are able to get that copy of Revolt, but it does really depend on our hand and what we're looking to end on. We're on one copy of Hvaslig. I'm very sorry, I can't really pronounce this one quite well, but essentially this card's a quick effect, target a monster in either graveyard and shuffle it back into the deck, or rather not either graveyard, your opponent's graveyard and shuffling it back into the deck. Really great card for graveyard hate. We're on 2 copies of Tri-Brigade Shurag, the Ominous Omen. If this card is special summoned, or if another Beast Warrior or Winged Beast monster is special summoned to your field, you can banish 1 card on the field. That is non-targeting, non-destruction removal. You all know how much I love that. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, we can add a Beast Warrior or Winged Beast monster from our deck to our hand, whose level is less than or equal to the number of our banished Beast Warriors, Beasts, and Winged Beasts. Fantastic card. The floating effect is great. It's just Rhoda. And the on-field effect is also fantastic as removal, especially on our opponent's turn as well. That's it for our Link monsters. Now let's cover our XCs. We're on 2 copies of Lyrilusc Recital Starling. It needs 2+ level 1 monsters. If it's XC summon, we can target a face-up monster on the field. It gains 300 attack and defense for each material attached to this card. Once per turn, we can attach 1 material from this card to add 1 level 1 Winged Beast monster from our deck to our hand. And all battle damage you take from battles involving this XC's monster is also inflicted to your opponent. Now, that damage thing isn't especially the most relevant for this card, really. However, the main thing is that search on this card is not a once per turn. Which means if we really wanted to, what we would be able to be playing in this deck, since we are ideally going to be making 2 of these cards, is we do ideally want to be playing Utopic, F-Zero, and Draco Future. I did opt to not include these cards in this list. However, if you were to be including these cards in this list, and this was like a little set of cards you wanted to include, the way you would be able to include them is by cutting 1 Ensemble Blue Robin and 1 Fucho, and including these like so. So for the rest of this list, I'm just going to have these in here, and I will refer to Fucho once we get to it. We're also on the 1 copy of the Ensemble Blue Robin. Again, you could be playing 2 if you didn't want to be playing the F-Zero stuff. And this card reads, needs 2+ level 1 monsters, gains 500 attack for each material attached to it. If your opponent special summons a monster, except in a damage step, you can attach material from this card, target one of those special summon monsters, and return it to the hand. If this card in your possession is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card, you can target one other Lyrilusc monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand. Great floating effect, great on-field effect, no once per turn on that bounce. Just a fantastic card overall, and it's going to be a card that you're just going to make your opponent pick up this card and read it twice to make sure that it is not once per turn. It's just a really great card. We're also on 2 copies of Lyrilusc Assembled Nightingale. This is another card that you could cut down to 1 if you really wanted to. It needs 2+ level 1 monsters. It gains 200 attack for each material attached to it. This card can attack directly. While this card is material, it can attack a number of times during each battle phase up to the number of materials attached to it. And once per turn quick effect, we can attach material from this card until the end of the turn. Lyrilusc monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects, and also we take no battle damage. Now that is not unaffected by card effects. It can still get banished and stuff with cards like Shurig, like SP, so on and so forth. So do keep in mind you are not immune from interaction once you use Assembled Nightingale. However, it does mean you're very heavily insulated against it, and sometimes with Assembled Nightingale, you're just able to deal like 5,000, 6,000 damage to your opponent just straight up to the dome, which is really, really fun to do in this deck. Again, the Utopic Future and Draco Future is a thing that you're able to do. How you would do it is you go Recital Starling 1, add a card. Typically it's going to be Sapphire Swallow, and you're going to have the ability to have another level 1 in hand somehow. Use the Sapphire Swallow to special summon this and the other monster. Typically it's going to be a Nerval, then we would use the Nerval effect in order to summon a Link monster. Use the Nerval and the Sapphire Swallow to make the second Recital Starling. Use the second Recital Starling, detaching the Nerval to add another card. Nerval would then add a Tri-Brigade, and then we will use both Recital Starlings to go into our Utopic Future, and then Windmill Slam the Utopic Draco Future on top of it for a monster negate. And then lastly, in this deck, we are on 1 copy of Divine Arsenal AA Zeus. It pairs very, very well with our Lyrilusc, especially Assembled Nightingale, since it can attack directly. It is a pretty much guaranteed way to get into Zeus, especially one with a fat stack of materials underneath of it. And then the last card that I did mention a little bit earlier, we are on 1 copy of Fucho. Again, if you want to play this card, by all means play it. It's unaffected by other cards' effects. Once per turn, quick effect, we can attach 2 materials from this card. For the rest of this turn, it cannot be destroyed by battle, and we take no battle damage from attacks involving this card. This card was very well favored when Tenpai was around, although since Tenpai has been severely hit, there is reason to not play this card, so I can definitely see you not wanting to include it in the list. But that's going to be about it for the profile. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you to my 1 member. Thank you, Ari. If you want to become a member, I would recommend sticking around to the end of all my videos in order to find out more benefits that you're able to get from becoming a member. But again, that's going to be about it for the video. Again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll be seeing you all later. Bye-bye. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you wanted to talk to more Yu-Gi-Oh! Players like yourself, I would highly recommend checking out our Discord server. Link is going to be in the description, as well as the QR code on screen. We do talk somewhat frequently about Yu-Gi-Oh! And the current meta, so I would really enjoy to see you there. As well as we do recently now have channel memberships available on our YouTube channel, where we have 3 different tiers. We have Super Supporter at $2 a month, where you get loyalty badges, emojis, guaranteed comment responses, a shout out at the end of every video, as well as access to the members only Discord channel, where you get early sneak peeks at future videos. There is the Giga Supporter at $5 a month, where you have early access to all new videos about a day or 2 before they go up, as well as all the previous offers. And for $15 a month, we do have our final tier, which is going to be Femboy Fanatic. You get a guaranteed customized video every single month, as well as 1 hour of my time. Could be for anything you'd like. You want a duel? Absolutely. You want me to help build a deck? Absolutely. You want to play some Helldivers? Sure. I'll do anything for an hour once a month. But supporting does help me out quite a lot, and it does help me produce all of these videos. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll be seeing y'all later. Bye-bye.